You have entered the Startup SupportCast, brought to you by Startup Support Center, covering all the topics you want to know and need to accelerate your business from sales to psychology and everything in between. So if you're ready to launch, it's time to start Supported.
Hey everybody, Zachary Barker here. Welcome back to the Startup SupportCast, a casual discussion with experts to help you entrepreneurs kind of A, recognize that you're not alone in the world, and B, actually have a discussion and maybe come up with a solution, or at least know that it's time to go see a professional, either of which is completely fine. The discussion that I want to bring up today is around the anxieties that come up with entrepreneurship. And I think specifically around sales anxiety, but we're going to talk with our friend Fred Dearborn, who is once again my counselor, but a licensed professional counselor as well, to talk a little bit about where that comes from, how to manage that, and things to look out for. So before we begin, as always, Fred, I want to say thank you for joining us. And I want to give you a moment, if you would, just reintroduce yourself to our community and our communities across the Startup Support Center universe.
Yeah, my name is Fred Dearborn. I'm a licensed professional counselor and been doing this work since 1994. And I've been really enjoying recently working with helping entrepreneurs, and specifically Zach, but entrepreneurs move through blocks and obstacles to building businesses from what I know about it.
Perfect. No, that's perfect. And I can attest for you. I think that you do a fantastic job as well. So I do want to have this on the record. I always try to do this with Fred for our people. Fred, please feel free. Anything that we've talked about in session that you A, feel is appropriate, B, and are comfortable sharing, I would like to just say that and make sure everyone is aware. I am happy to share some of my personal experiences as well as some of Fred's reflections associated with that. I don't think there's anything too gruesome that we talk about, but as always, want to make sure to protect our professionals and their practices as well. So, so let's kind of jump in real quick. I think you and I talk about this, and it's not as much a problem for me anymore, but it still is. Honestly, it still is. I would just call it. I mean, I guess I would call it sales anxiety, but I think it's just the anxiety that comes with pressure or like a feeling of needing to perform. Just kind of from your background, from your experience. Again, nothing clinical per se, but using your expertise. Let's just start with kind of like, where does anxiety come from? Like, where does this energy come from that so many entrepreneurs are experiencing?
So, I mean, anxiety is a form of fear, right? And fear is a totally natural feeling. It's a feeling that's built into all of us. It's been around since for as long as we've been around. It's fear is actually designed. Basically, if you're looking in the environment and there's a threat, fear comes up. What we call fear, and it makes your body actually stronger. It makes you more alert, more motivated to do really one thing, and that's to sprint as fast as you can away from whatever the threat is. And that's sort of the biological origins of fear. The problem with us as humans is that we have this capacity that animals don't have, which is to imagine something that's not happening. Right? So we can imagine a danger, and we can even think something is dangerous in the sense of life-threatening dangerous when it's not. We might imagine, for example, that crossing a bridge that's a solid bridge would be dangerous. We picture like falling off the bridge, or we picture the bridge crumbling or something like that, right? And our body experiences fear, but it's fear about something that's not actually happening. It's something that you're imagining might happen. In other words, something in the future, right? So anxiety is a fear of something that might happen rather than something that is happening.
Gotcha. So I sometimes in my courses when I teach, I always talk about something being logical but irrational. Like
Right.
what you're thinking makes sense. Yes. But it doesn't in the sense that like that's not going to happen. So I want to give you kind of a case in point is I think sales anxiety. One of the things that I think of is either one, a fear of calling people for this fear of like massive rejection. So, I'm afraid to call on this client because they're going to tell me that my product sucks or that I'm an idiot or they're going to, cuss me out and hang up on the phone.
Hmm.
Or I'm going to lose this relationship forever. I mean, honestly, those are the things that I think about and I know better. How do you like, how, how do we even manifest that? I realize the fear aspect, but is that just rooted in prior experience? Is it rooted in just, is it something like we saw it on TV? Is it, like, how do we even develop the initial part of creating this irrational fear?
Would part of it is that it's built into us from when we're really, really little, right? I mean, that's like it's vitally important that these big people in our lives, we don't even have words to talk about it, right? That they keep bringing us food and water and protecting us and doing all that kind of stuff, right? So the fear of rejection is really a very young fear, right? And as a child, a really small child, it actually is dangerous if an adult rejects you. So it feels life threatening, right? So as an adult, we grow up and we still sort of have this, as you were saying, irrational fear that rejection is somehow dangerous, that rejection is the equivalent of a lion coming,
Yeah.
right? But it isn't, right? There's absolutely nothing dangerous about rejection for an adult, right? In terms of from a purely like survival biological perspective, right? It might hurt, it might be uncomfortable, but it's not dangerous.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, for a child, if a baby is neglected, they know they're going to perish. So it is a survival tactic. And
Right.
so, yeah, I mean, it would make logical sense, even if I'm being irrational, that we carry that kind of survival mentality where we need attention in order to feel that we can continue to survive, even though as adults, we're fully self-capable of managing, right? We can get through it, but it's just maybe even just an instinctual piece that just hangs on in your brain as you go forward and you just go like, it's not irrational to be afraid.
Mhm.
It is irrational in what I'm manifesting to be afraid, but the being afraid actually is maybe just flat out how we are. Like it's actually instead of being weird and bad, it's just super normal. And that's
Yeah.
how you are. And you should just be like, it's okay to be afraid. That actually makes me a very normal, natural type of person. And a
Mhm.
little bit of fear maybe even makes it to where you made a comment earlier, makes us stronger and more motivated. Maybe the fear actually helps us to become more sharp. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the symptoms, if you will, the experience of anxiety very, very much mimics and is very close to the symptoms of excitement. It's like a lot of the same neurobiology is getting fired up. So if there, that is something you can actually use. It's like if you can kind of turn your fear to excitement, you interpret it that way, it can be used as a motivation.
Okay. So a challenge.
Yeah.
How do we do that? Like how would someone do this and without the kind of like maybe boxing in your corner here, but instead of just being like, just think about it different, right? Because that for I think for a lot of people, the fear is overwhelming. So they'll agree, like, I know I should look at this as a positive, not a negative, right? I should look at the anxiety before a tennis match, not as nerves, but as positive energy for me being so excited so I can focus, right? But there has to be like a methodology or a practice or a something that, for our people who are listening can say, I could go and at least try this for some reframing and restructuring kind of that anxiety from a negative to positive. So what is maybe a tactic that someone could do to get them closer to being able to control that fear feeling of excitement?
Well, so I'm going to start in a slightly different place and then kind of move forward to that. Um, so this next thing people are not actually going to be comfortable with, but sorry, that's kind of the way it is. So the if you have an irrational fear of something, if you have fear of anything, right? You have a tendency to want to avoid it, to move away from it. And so if you move away from something, conversely, when you avoid or move away from something, the nervous system reads it as dangerous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's dangerous, you move away from it. If you move away from it, nervous system reads it as dangerous. So if you move towards something when you don't have to, right? And that's a key part of it, when you don't have to, then the brain reads it as okay, right? There's these people take a perfectly good airplane up to 14,000 feet and they jump out of it, right? Some of them, they've done it so many times that if you hook them up, watch their heart rate, it would look like they were sitting on their living room couch. Now, is jumping out of an airplane inherently dangerous? Yeah, absolutely, right? But the brain, if you do it when you don't have to over and over and over again, the brain reads it as okay.
Yeah.
Other people avoid left-hand turns. They go, well, I just not sure I like that. They start avoiding them every once in a while. Then they entirely avoid them. Next thing you know, they can't take a left-hand turn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So the idea around this is that if you want to do something that you're afraid of like this, is to do it when you don't have to, on purpose, right? So what are people afraid of? They're afraid of getting rejected.
Yeah.
They're not afraid of making a sales, right? They're not
No.
afraid of making a sale. They're afraid of getting rejected, right? So go purposefully get rejected 10, 15, 20 times. Do whatever you do badly. Sell something that's awful that you can't sell,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Go have people hang up on you. Go
Yeah.
have people tell you you're an asshole. Like, sorry,
Yeah.
but is whatever.
That's fine. We'll keep
Like,
it in.
yeah, like 10, 15, 20 times.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, people rejecting you is not going to feel that dangerous,
Yeah.
right? So that's one that will lower the anxiety level in the first place. All
Okay.
right. This When you're heading into a sale or a game or a presentation or something like that, and like you're talking about, you want to switch from being afraid of this to interpreting it as excitement, right? The first thing you can do is say, is there a lion coming? I know that sounds kind of hokey, right? But it's actually really effective because it tells the unconscious brain directly, not in an intellectual or cognitive way, but in a visceral way. This thing's not dangerous. This is not life threatening. Right. So you say, is there a lion coming? And the answer, of course, is no. Right. And then you want to focus on whatever it is you're excited about as a possibility, outcome, what you're selling, what you're interested in. Focus on what it is that is actually exciting about this process for you.
Yeah.
Right? So is it a lion? And then refocus. You're literally switching neural pathways.
Gotcha. And this is something you and I have talked about before is, yeah, it's kind of that like fear, anxiety, which is negative, right?
Mm-hmm.
And identifying it almost to the point where it's humorous. I think that's kind of how we reframed it, was to that point of saying like, is there a lion? You kind of snicker and go like, I mean, no, unless you're going into a lion, like then
Yeah, right.
yeah, maybe you're not actually anxious, you're just afraid, and that's okay because we all agree you should be.
That's right.
But even lion tamers see a lion so often that they're not afraid. To your very first point, is you face the fear voluntarily, then it goes away. If you name the fear, or at least name the emotion and kind of go like, is there a lion? You go like, no. Well, that's dumb.
Right.
Now it kind of puts you into maybe almost emotionally recognizing like almost the silliness, the irrationality. Let's stay on that term, right? This is so irrational. What am I worked up about? And then you can say, man, if I get this client though, ooh, that's going to be good. And so
Mm-hmm.
same emotion. I think what I'm hearing from you, and just make sure that I'm clear as we're kind of restating this, is because fear and excitement, the negative and the positive, are physiologically, psychologically very similar. They're basically the same pathway, right? It is
Mm-hmm.
our interpretation of that.
Yep.
So if I can change the feeling from being a negative feeling where I'm like, womp womp, I'm scared, I'm not going to make it, to
Mm-hmm.
every time I have that feeling, that little bit of sweat, that little bit of tingle, that heart rate, I go, no, 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 this is the good feeling. I want this. You could, in essence, and tell me if I'm wrong, you're the expert, but you could, in essence, almost train yourself to where every time that physiological feeling comes, you can trick your brain or reteach yourself to go, yes, this is
Yeah.
what I've been looking for. And you could almost, in essence, eliminate fear.
Yes. You can't eliminate fear. I think you can very much reduce anxiety. You don't want to.
Maybe that's it, right? Is eliminate the physiological reaction to the irrational fear. Like if a dog is running at me, teeth glaring, and it's like, "Rah," like I still don't want to be like, oh, is it a lion? No, I'll just stay here and get chewed up. We don't want to get rid of fear. I understand what you're saying there, but I could get that. And maybe it's even situational. It's like, I know I'm on a call. I have this feeling. You could get yourself to almost to a point where you go like, I want this.
Yes. The only thing I would say is I'm always cautious about telling people that you can eliminate anxiety,
Mm,
because then if they don't or they're not perfect at it, then they get
mm.
self-critical, and I don't think that's good.
Which creates anxiety,
Which creates
ironically.
anxiety. Exactly. It's like none of us are going to be perfect at this, right?
Correct.
If it's a specific client that you really want, it might be a
Yeah,
little hard not to have some of that performance anxiety.
yeah,
But the
yeah,
more often you go, oh, like, but I learned to surf recently, right? And
yep,
and if a bigger wave was coming, it's like that would like produce some anxiety, some nerves, right? But
yeah,
it's also excitement.
yeah, yeah,
And I can be like, oh, yeah,
yeah,
excitement.
yeah. Yeah, I remember, I heard this or read this somewhere. Tony Robbins, right? Great speaker. He said he's nervous before every performance. He said when he walks out, he's excited, but he's also nervous because he wants to perform well. But that is actually part of the method. Is the excitement is I'm so excited to be here. And the nerve is an accountability to the people that are there. It's like, I want to do well. And I think he's probably at the point where he's like, I know I can do well. I feel like I will do well. But that anxiety is, I want to make sure that I do well because I want everyone to have a great experience with me. And there is an anxiety about performance. Like, what happens if I don't bring my best? So you start to mentally elevate your performance to go, no, I'm not going to let them down. This is exactly what I'm looking for. This is what I want.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. So these are great. And I kind of want to tie this into a little bit of what I do in training. And then us just kind of talk a little bit about this is kind of that initial concept. So you have two components here. One is to voluntarily face the fear. Like basically, we hear like lean forward, lean into it, move into it, whatever case may be.
Do on purpose what it is you're afraid of.
There you
Right.
go.
And well, more specifically, create the outcome that you're afraid of.
Gotcha.
Right.
Oh, I see what you, yeah, 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 yeah.
Right.
So
Because it's
as
not,
an,
I'm not saying, okay, if you're afraid of making sales calls, make 20 sales calls. No, I'm saying make 20 sales calls that you're going to get rejected in.
correct. Where you walk in with an expectation
Yeah.
that it's not going to work. And you
Yeah.
can kind of almost numb yourself. And again, I hate using some of these terms, but I think about sports that I played, right? As they said, if you're anxious when you're shooting free throws and there's a crowd and it's the fourth quarter and you're tired, you have to numb yourself to that emotion. And numbing isn't the word. What you have to do is you have to have been in that situation so many times that it doesn't feel any different than practicing by yourself in the gym.
Exactly. It's not unlike, most of us, if we get punched in the face, that's it. That's the end of the fight, right? That's
That's right.
like, okay, I'm going home. I'm crying, right?
That's
Well,
right.
why is it that boxers or fighters can get hit over and over and over again in the face in a fight? Because they do it over and over and over again. Their
Yeah.
neurology, their nervous system gets used to that happening. Now, I certainly don't
Correct.
recommend that. Don't want anyone getting head injuries, but it's an extreme example of that's what happens when you get used to something. Your nervous system realizes you can take it. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And interesting enough that kind of mentality or that emotional response, trained response, right? Kind of really helps you hedge the second part that we were talking about, which is kind of naming the irrational thought or the
Mhm.
irrational feeling is there a lion? Am I about I'm walking into a sales call. If I don't nail this presentation, like, are they going to throw me off this 12-story building?
Right.
No.
No.
What are they going to do? They're just going to say, thanks for coming in. Bye.
Right.
They're not going to laugh at you. They're not going to yell at you. They're probably not going to call you. We're entrepreneurs. So we're the boss. It doesn't matter,
Right.
but they're not going to call your boss and tell on you. Like,
But
what's
I
the
don't,
worst thing that can happen?
but Zach, I don't actually want people going through that much thinking,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
That's too many words. The reason I use such a simple analogy or image, right, is that
Yep.
is there a lion coming? The answer is
Yeah.
no. That's an immediate message to the unconscious mind. It,
Gotcha. Yeah.
it's not a cognitive message, right? It's a visceral message. Is there a
Gotcha.
lion coming? No. Then focus on what you're excited about,
Gotcha. Yeah.
right?
Don't and I'll kind of tie this again for entrepreneurs, especially people who have the three-letter delight that I have, right? Is we tend to be overthinkers. We're overcomplicating something that is very, very, very simple.
Hmm.
Is there a lion? No. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's cool? And that way
Yeah.
it's just like one, not
Yes.
a big chain
Exactly.
of things. Because
Yeah.
the chain really, and tell me if I'm wrong for it, but that chain, what I just went through, right? As an example to show, people who
Yeah.
are watching this, that chain that I went through kind of subcontextually has anxiety laced inside of it, right? There is all these, I'm rationalizing all my anxieties and trying to get to the end and convince myself it's not bad versus just going, is there a lion in the room? No, then we're good. Let's just go.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. That's 100% right. Yep.
Got it. Got it. Okay. So we'll wrap up our short session here
Mhm.
so that we can talk about additional things and other things that are awesome for entrepreneurs along the way. But in kind of a quick recap around anxiety, sales anxiety. So anxiety is a natural reaction, right?
Mhm.
It's laced in or it's built in the survival tactics that we have as a baby where we need the big people to take care of us. So anxiety is a fear that is normal. We should
Mhm.
feel it. We know that we're adults and we can self-maintain. So if we recognize the fear we have, we face it knowingly,
Mhm.
walk into it, knowing and really expecting the result that we're afraid of or anxious of. I don't want to say fearful, but anxious, right?
Mhm.
Then we can start to create a comfort level with that output, which then will
Mhm.
eliminate that anxiety of potential fears that we're afraid of. And to add to that is in the moment. So a long-term goal is to face it again, again, again. The immediate goal is there a lion? If
Mhm.
no, let's go.
Yeah, if no, what am I excited about? Focus on what I'm excited about.
And again, to just lock that in, and that's to shift those feelings that we're having, all the jumblies,
Mhm.
from a first negative
Mhm.
to it being the exact same feeling, negative or positive, is going, okay, is there a lion? No. So we don't have to be negative. What's great here? So we can start to retrain ourselves that that feeling is something that is positive and maybe even something we want to pursue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's energy.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Cool.
Awesome. So, another wonderful session with Fred. Thank you so much. Again, for those of you out there who do have anxiety, first, it's normal. You're supposed to. It actually keeps you alive. And on top of that, if you do, take these couple of tactics here, go into it, see if this can't help you mitigate what you're going through, help you increase your performance, improve what you're doing. And ultimately, as often as I can say it, if it's something that you're still challenged with and it really, really, really is creating difficulty for you, find your Fred, find a Fred, find your Fred, find someone that you can talk to who can really walk you through this. There's no point in suffering alone. There's no point in suffering at all. So work through this as much as you can on your own. But if you do see that there's a bigger something in your life going on, then seek help. Just like if you broke your leg, you'd go to a doctor. Fred is my doctor for everything that I break or isn't broken, but just needs a little refinement along the way. So we're very normal. This is a normal situation. You guys are going to do great. Again, thank you, Fred. Appreciate you so much for these insights. And as always, for showing us a pathway to a professional who is very approachable, easy to talk to, and can make this simple for us so that we don't overthink all of it. So thank you again, Fred. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.